One of the most spectacular avian phenomena in the world is the synchronized flight of a starling flock, called a murmuration. These flights are a somewhat common sight across the Northern Hemisphere in human cities, indicating a truth about North American avian fauna. Just about everywhere in North America you find the same two common birds, the European starling and the house sparrow. The thing is that both of these birds are not native to North America. They are from Europe. What is with that? We have to go back to the 1800s and the man who was involved in the introduction of both species to North America, Eugene Schieffelin. Belonging to one of the oldest families in Manhattan, he spent his life in New York. A pharmacist by profession, he was also a member of various societies in the city, one of those being the American Acclimatization Society. Founded in 1854, the Society's goal was to introduce such foreign varieties of the animal and vegetable kingdom as may be useful or interesting. They actually were not responsible entirely for the house sparrow, which were first brought to Brooklyn in 1850 to help stop an infestation of linen moths prior to the Society's foundation. But the first attempt failed. Then, in 1852, Schieffelin helped sponsor the introduction of another group that, despite not doing well initially, were cared for over their first winter and released in the spring, and were the first members of the current North American house sparrow population. Sparrows were released in several places across eastern North America over the coming decades, and then in the 1870s a few were set free in the West, a flock in San Francisco, and a flock in 1873 in my own Salt Lake City, Utah. These birds are not as innocent as their cute little passerine faces may seem. These successful little birds have adapted well to the human-made landscape of cities and sidewalks. They are a cavity nester and will evict native species from suitable holes, making them a challenge to people setting up nest boxes for small passerines like chickadees, and are even known to horrifically kill adult bluebirds to take over a box. The house sparrow was enough of a disaster to the avian ecology of North America, but Eugene and the American Acclimatization Society were far from done. In 1864, the Society brought many non-native bird species to Central Park: Java sparrows, chaffinches, European blackbirds, and more house sparrows. By 1877, Eugene Schieffelin was the chair of the Society, and more birds were released: skylarks, pheasants, and the first attempt at the European starling. Starlings failed to colonize America twice, until a shipment of 60 starlings were released by Eugene and his society into Central Park in 1890. Then, in 1891, he released 40 more. From these 100 birds came their some 200 million living descendants, found from coast to coast in North America. The common story about the release of the starling is our good friend Eugene was such a fan of Shakespeare's plays, and such a bird lover he wanted every bird mentioned in Shakespeare to be released in Central Park. Starlings show up in Henry IV, where a starling is suggested to be used to drive the titular king mad. The Shakespeare connection is not as strong as long popularized in urban legend. Schieffelin seemed just as interested to get rid of those pest insects that drove the introduction of the house sparrow. Yes, Eugene was a big fan of Shakespeare, but that doesn't mean he was adamant in releasing every feathered fowl mentioned in the works of the bard. The American Acclimatization Society released all sorts of birds from Europe and Asia, and it just happened they released many birds that Shakespeare put in his plays because they were common in England. Unfortunately, instead of dying off rapidly and not spreading beyond Central Park like most introductions, two did extremely well and spread across the continent. Starlings certainly drive many bird lovers mad. Like the house sparrow, they are cavity nesters, though they take larger holes that would otherwise be utilized by little owls, bluebirds, and woodpeckers. I found myself in a losing battle when a flock of starlings descended and started eating all of my bird food intended for native species, so I had to put cages around everything with mesh too small for these bulky birds. They also cause some $800 million worth of agricultural damage every year. So next time you see either a house sparrow or European starling in your backyard or on a walk in the park, think of the crazy 19th century Shakespeare-loving, old-world bird-obsessed man who brought them across the Atlantic. Eugene Schieffelin was a crazy man who loved Shakespeare and his feathered fowl friends. In 1890, he brought starlings to our shores, and they started to breed like they never done before. Invasive species are just the worst. Whether causing mass extinctions in the Rift Valley lakes, or on islands, or in small-scale invasions. I have a video on invasive species looking specifically at Hawaii and a spring in Grand Teton National Park, as well as a video on the Nile perch of Lake Victoria. On this channel, I strive to create quality miniature documentaries and educational videos on biology and conservation, and hope to inspire outdoor exploration and conservation action. Thank you for checking this video out, and until next time, bye.